let's talk then. Let's turn our attention to the 3M Open here. This is played at TPC Twin Cities. It's been played at TPC Twin Cities since 2019. It's had 4 past winners since 2019, 2 of whom are not playing in this event. The event is traditionally not played by a ton of the world's elite. That's because it's difficult to make the 10-hour flight to Minnesota after the Open and play this tournament. So the guys who play it are usually fighting for their life. Now, the PGA Tour has decreased the FedEx Cup playoffs from 125 to 70, as you mentioned earlier. So a lot of these guys who are playing are in the FedEx Cup standings like 55 to 85, jockeying for position, trying to get in that playoffs. Justin Thomas being one, Hideki Matsuyama being another one. So there are some notables here that need to play well. Aaron Rai, guys that we talk about all the time. Sepp Straka has actually been playing really well. So we'll talk about him as well. So an interesting field, one that sort of smells of desperation, but I don't want to lean too heavy into the desperation, Nate, because we did that with Ricky Fowler when we were like, oh, the Mexico Open, Ricky Fowler wins and he's in the Masters. And then he did not win because that's very difficult to do. So I do not have the desperation factor on my analysis here, but you never know. I mean, Justin Thomas, I would love to see him win this. What about TPC Twin Cities makes this course difficult? What should we be looking for?
Not much. It's a pretty gettable course. I mean, the biggest defenses are it's not very long. It's par 71. It plays to 72 to 7,400 yards, kind of depending on where they decide to put the tees, which is not overly long at all by tour standards. Most of the water hazards are going to be off the tee, so accuracy sort of takes a little bit of a premium off the tee this week. But other than that, it's a pretty straightforward course. Greens are pretty decent size. Nothing out there to trick these guys. It's just we're just back to point and shoot golf.
I believe there's water on 13 of the 18 holes, so there does need to be some driving accuracy. You don't want to be dunking into the water every chance you get. There is big greens, as you mentioned, a short course. I'm looking for guys who have good strokes gained approach. I'm looking for driving accuracy. The average score for a winner is 15 to 17 under. That's not exactly a birdie fest, but you're going to have to be able to convert into birdies. And I also love bogey avoidance this week because of all the water. You want to be able to point and shoot, and you don't want to be 3-putting. Putting on bent grass can be important. Those are kind of the things that I'm looking out for. I had strokes gained off the tee, and then I just threw it out. I just want to focus on driving accuracy. But you're right, point and shoot golf here. And some of these guys who are strong in approach numbers and can really use their iron game to elevate themselves should be in contention this week. Do you agree with that, or are you looking for something else?
I pretty much agree with that. I mean, you look at the list and you think, you look at the past few winners. In the last 4 years, we had Matthew Wolff, Cameron Champ, and Tony Finau as winners, all of whom are just like not just long, but like elite long, like elite speed.
Yeah, Glover. Do you say Glover? No.
Cam Champ and Michael Wolff.
Cam Champ, that's right.
I mean, talking about guys that like hit it like long. And you'd think, oh, this is a course that sets up for bombers. But I think that the more accurate thing about them is that they were bombers who just caught a pretty straight driver for the week. Because you look at the rest of the leaderboard and it's guys that are fairly average in terms of length off the tee. When Finau won, Emiliano Grillo and Sung Jae were the runners up. When Cam Champ won in 21, Oosthuizen, Schwartzel, and Johnny Vegas were runners up. So it's a gettable course for guys that are average in length. They just haven't won, but they've been all over the leaderboard. So I tend to think that most of the strokes that these guys gain off the tee tends to be from being in the fairway rather than distance. So I too am also sort of looking for accuracy. I mean, I got a couple of bombers on here that I hope hit it straight, but mostly accuracy is kind of where I fell when making my determination.
You're going to, if you can drive the ball and you can drive it straight this week, you have a win in your future. And I don't play around with futures, Nate. That's why I go to targettrading.co for all of my futures training. If you're interested in unlocking some financial independence and playing the stock market, you have got to check out targettrading.co. Now, when I go to the stock market, a lot of times what I do in my different accounts is I'm looking for blue chip stocks like Disney, like Apple, maybe some lithium company, although ethically that sometimes feels kind of weird, but I do it. I still do it. You want those blue chips, but when you're talking about futures trading, that's a whole different ball game. And that's not just like going in there, like we say, point and shoot, click on the Disney stock, buy 5 shares. This is very difficult and it's very easy to become overexposed. So what I want everybody to do is go to targettrading.co. That's targettrading.co and start to unlock your financial freedom today. Patrick Asselone comes on our show, the General Sports Show, the Godzilla Wins Show, every Saturday. He tells us his wins and losses. He's very transparent. What he'll tell you every single week, these guys have more wins than losses. They always post in the green, but if they don't, Patrick's going to tell you. He's not going to swindle you. So you go to targettrading.co and take the campus virtual tour, meet Patrick and company in action, and unlock that financial freedom today. We always want to thank Target Trading for partnering with us here at Clubhouse Picks. So, Nate, let's talk about our picks for the week. We've got our driver. That's what we'll start with. These are our heavy favorites. I'm going to start with you. Is it Finau or you going somewhere else?
I'm going somewhere else. I don't see how you can bet Finau. I mean, he missed the cut at the Open Championship. He's been playing not very well at all.
No, he hasn't. Not like
it's
last
not
year.
Finau for me. I mean, I think for me, it's got to be the hottest guy in the field. It's got to be Sepp, right?
Yeah.
You know, who would have thought that, 22-1 would be a good price on Sepp Straka. But I mean, against these guys, like, especially when you look at the guys ahead of him on the odds board, like Tony Finau has been playing like junk. Sung Jae, who finally had a good tournament after months of playing like junk. Hideki, who's always injured and playing like junk. Cam Young, who can't win. So, I mean, and you're getting 22-1.
Hold on. That's a pretty damning description of some pretty good golfers there. I think Cam Young would take exception to that fact. He played pretty well at the Open. He was in the
He played great at the
mix.
US Open, or he played great at the Open Championship, and he did what he always does, which is like log a top 5 in a big tournament. Yeah. And go home without any hardware.
This person I follow on Twitter calls him Scam Young. She's always got him on her card. So it's like, oh, I got Scam Young again. So she feels the same way as you do.
Yeah. So, I mean, versus that crew, I mean, yeah, I like Sepp. I mean, he's in the same company as like Grillo and Ludwig Aberg. So, like, yeah, I think I like Sepp the best. I mean, he won 2 weeks ago, or he won a couple tournaments ago at the John Deere, and he finished tied for second at the Open. Like, he's on a heater. He has an argument for, he's definitely the hottest player in this field. He might be the best player in this field. 22-1 seems fair.
I cheated. I took him as my iron because he slipped below into the 20s. So I was like, I'll take him in the iron. So I got a little. I don't have to play fantasy golf on this show, so I can take 2 high-priced guys. So I went with Hideki here, even though I know you say he's always injured. One, because I think that this course is set up pretty well for him. I don't think he's been playing that horribly, although he's not been playing the way we normally consider like elite Hideki. So first of all, he's 16-1 plus 1,600. That's not a great price on a guy who's playing like he is, but that's the field this week. Strokes gained approach is what I like about him. 15th. Some of the other numbers, bogey avoidance he's 8th. So he's top 10 in bogey avoidance. He's probably first or second of guys in the field this week. His issue kind of is he's not converting birdies. He's 94th in birdie conversion, and he's 75th in driving accuracy, which, I mean, he's pretty long off the tee, but he's never been the most accurate guy. I'm hoping that, like, what I liked about him in the Open, and he had a T13 at the Open, so I also like that, is I just felt like he was sinking a lot of putts. Now, I know he takes a long time to think about those putts. Talk about a guy who's really making sure he's got every single thing. He's considered every angle mentally. I mean, he is staring down those putts. But he to me, he looked really good on the greens for the most part. And so I'm hoping he can kind of carry that momentum in. There's not a lot of golfers who are really that strong outside of Sepp, who I'll talk about as well in a minute in the iron category. But it's been mercurial. I mean, he got cut at the Rocket. That was a gettable field. He should have made that cut. T13 at the Travelers, T32 at the US Open. So he's just playing okay. I like him though this week. 16-1 is not a great price, but as far as your heavy favorite, I really like Hideki. Definitely better than Sung Jae, definitely better than Finau, and Finau's price just sucks for a guy who hasn't been playing well. He won all those tournaments last year, and we thought, oh, here comes the Finau dominance, and now he's cooled off. So I'm not that interested in Tony.
Yeah, and I mean, I had Hideki. I got baited into taking Hideki last week at the Open Championship, and he played okay. I mean, I get if I didn't take Sepp, Hideki would have been my second choice because he seems to be playing all right, like more consistently than the other guys. So
then let's just combine the driver and iron, since I have Sepp as my iron since I cheated. And I'll just give you a couple more numbers that really make the case for Sepp. The most important number is that he almost won the Open, T2 at the Open, and he won the John Deere. So he is the hottest. He's the hottest golfer on the tour, probably on the tour, just in general. Definitely in the field at the 3M. T64 at Rocket Mortgage, T64 at Travelers. Approach game on point as always, 14th in approach. Off the tee, always been difficult, 84th there. Driving accuracy, that's the thing you love about Sepp. He's very accurate, 20th in driving accuracy. He sucks at bogey avoidance, so he's 103rd. So I'm a little nervous that he's going to be just sort of falling apart. But those numbers are so hard because those are season numbers, and I didn't have the time to just look at the last couple tournaments. I'm sure his strokes gain numbers in all these, or bogey avoidance or whatever, is just much better over the last couple tournaments. So yeah, hottest golfer in the world. I can't believe he's not like 15-1. I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me. It's just kind of disrespect, I guess, or some of the other bigger names who have won majors. But Sepp was really close to winning a major.
He was very close.
Who's your iron?
My iron is I don't even know if he's, a reliable guy who wins sometimes, as the iron sort of description goes. But I like Aaron Rai this week. I mean, he is steady.
Yeah, why not?
I mean, he's just Aaron Rai. We always talk about short course god Aaron Rai. And I mean, if driving accuracy is important, right? Which we sort of think that it is, maybe more important than a lot of people are thinking it is. He's 5th in driving accuracy.
Yeah, he's super accurate off the tee.
And he's 10th in distance from the edge of the fairway. So, I mean, he just doesn't miss very often with a driver. And on a course with as much water off the tee as TPC Twin Cities has, he feels like a guy that's just got to be in it. I mean, he's 24th tee to green. Like, he's just a good ball striker. He's just one sort of just decent putting week away from like really being in contention somewhere. Because the ball striking numbers seem to be there in large part. So, I mean, and he's put together some pretty good results lately, before he missed the cut at the Scottish Open, he was T3 in Canada, T24 at the Travelers, and T9 at the Rocket Mortgage. So I like Aaron Rai here to sort of maybe sneak into the conversation, as it were.
I always like him for first round leader. I don't know if you have those numbers up, but that's always a good one for him because he's so accurate. A lot of these guys on Thursday struggle because they can't figure out the course, and guys like Rai end up kind of around the top on Thursday because they're just so accurate that they don't make any mistakes. It's not that they play amazing golf. They just don't make a ton of mistakes. So you might want to look at that as a first round leader. Good old Aaron.
Oh, and he's plus 4,500 for those of you wanting to know. So 45-1.
Yeah, but I'll take that. So yeah, Aaron Rai, I think always on a short course, we love Rai in that spot. So I'm all with you there. Now, wedges. We got our driver. That's our heavy favorite. Our iron, reliable guys that usually win, although Rai hasn't always won. And then we've got our wedges, which is guys we love to bet. I've got a good one. You want me to go first? I kind of want to.
Yeah, go first. I had a good one too.
I got a great one. Adam Hadwin. Now, 35-1 for Hadwin, which is not a great price for a guy who's only got one win on tour. But the thing I love about Hadwin this week is, first of all, he's played TPC Twin Cities more than anyone else, like in the past 5 years or something, or he's up there number 1 or number 2. So that's huge. I have this weird Aaron Rye theory, and this is one of those like the Akshay resort course theory, which by the way, Akshay Bhatia winning in the Barracuda in Truckee, I consider that a resort course because Tahoe's
Mountain
a resort
resort.
town. Yeah, mountain resort. So there's another strokes gained resort course. I'm going to get Nate Brown to do a strokes gained resort course stat. I also want him to do strokes gained windy. Anytime the wind blows, Colin Morikawa is like -7. And then I have another strokes gained for you. Strokes gained border states. These are states that border Canada, which I believe Minnesota does, although now I'm not so sure. I'm almost positive Minnesota borders Canada. My phone died, but I'm pretty sure. Strokes gained border states. I think Adam Hadwin, when he gets up there near Canada, he's pretty good. He likes to play up there. And this is, I'll tell you the reason that I like this stupid stat that I made up is he was tied for second at the Rocket Mortgage. Where's that? Detroit, border state. So I think anytime you're up in the Midwest, Adam Hadwin just crushes it because it's close to his home country.
Minnesota does in fact share a border with Canada.
I knew it did. I should never
Ontario
doubt it.
and Manitoba. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm telling you, strokes gained Canadian border states. Adam Hadwin would be like first or second. Absolutely. I'm telling you. I know you love it, don't you? I got to get Nate Brown on some of these strokes gained stats. He's great up there near the border. He really is. At least he was in Detroit. So he's 35-1. Approach, he's 35th. Driving accuracy, he's 33rd. So he's always been a pretty accurate driver. Bogey avoidance, this is why I love him. 13th in bogey avoidance this year. 73rd in birdie or better. Putting 33rd as well. That's not putting on bent grass. That's just putting overall. So he's kind of a better putter. Like I said, he tied for second, lost the playoff at the Rocket. US Open 59th. RBC Canadian T12. So when he's up there, in Canada or up in the border states, he's good. I like this bet. I'm really excited about Adam Hadwin this week. Who's your iron?
My iron is he's just my guy. At this point, I just feel like I'm betting him every week now, just regardless. Is Nikolai Højgaard.
I've thought about him. He's been playing
all
well.
in on him. He's been playing great. And he's been playing really well lately. He kind of had a little bit of a lull for a couple of months, kind of mid-season, but since then he's really turned it on. T6 in the Scottish Open and then T23 at the Open. He basically fits the profile of, like, there were two guys that I sort of have on my card, and they're either guys that are just pure accuracy, like Rye, or they're guys that are just pure distance that I'm just hoping might be able to find a fairway for a week. And Højgaard falls into the opposite camp of Rye. He is a guy who has elite distance off the tee. Is a decent approach player, decent putter, but like zero idea where it's going off the tee, just long as hell. So we're just but Hoylake's a pretty difficult driving course, and the Renaissance Club in Scotland wasn't an easy driving course either, and he's been at least good enough to not just kill himself. He really didn't gain strokes at either event, but he was good enough to avoid any serious damage. So I like him again this week. I mean, at some point it feels like he's going to pop. Twin brother already won earlier this season on the DP World Tour. It feels like Nikolai's going to get his as well. And just play himself on a tour that way.
I guess what I worry about with him is if he can shoot 17 under for a tournament, because I don't think I've seen him do that, and you're going to have to this week. But he has been playing better. And then the other thing with him is like, well, is he playing better because he was playing links golf and he's European? He's kind of more used to that up there. I don't know, but I think that that's a great bet. I looked at him. I thought that, okay, Højgaard, he's right there. He played really well the last 2 weeks. So I agree with you. I like that. For the wedge, if you bet Højgaard, you should be able to sleep at night, just like with the MyPillow 2.0, Nate. So listen, you go to mypillow.com. You got to buy the MyPillow 2.0. My favorite thing about mypillow.com right now is the promo code FUN. This is 80% off almost all products. And MyPillow just doesn't sell pillows. Now, I got a couple of MyPillows, you buy them, you put them in the dryer, they fluff up, they never lose their shape. You get 80% off those pillows or something close to it with the promo code FUN. But you can also get towels, you can get slippers, I don't know if you can get a robe, but I bet you can. Someone better check that out. If you can't get a robe, then I should contact MyPillow and design one for them. So you can get pretty much anything you need at mypillow.com. Go to mypillow.com, put in the promo code FUN, up to 80% off on all products. So let's look at the putter here. That's our bet and regret. I've got a bet and regret that I actually didn't put on my card. That's how much I regret him. So he's not good. He's not going to win. But let's start with you. We'll tease mine, then we'll start with you.
Okay. Mine is pretty straightforward. He's another just bomber. With very little accuracy off the tee. But I guess my bet regret, the one that I've sort of been like, that might have been silly, was Ryan Fox. He's been like all over some people. I've seen him in the power rankings.
He has.
On PGA Tour, I've seen some other people sort of talking about him. I guess like my reticence is it feels bizarre, but he's never had a top 10 on the PGA Tour. I mean, he stacked up like 3 finishes in the top 10 in like a month on the DP World Tour late last year, and he hasn't been able to crack the top 10 ever out here. So I just like 50-1 feels like a stupid price for a guy who hasn't ever even finished in the top 10. At the same time, he's like a hell of a player in Europe, and he's finished in the top 25 like a zillion times already this season. Like what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. Just no top 10s. So it feels like a little bit of a reach thinking that he's like primed for a victory, but he sort of fits that archetype of like dude who hits it a long way who can find a hot putter, which I kind of have targeted for this week.
He's on a lot of people's card. I mean, you're not wrong to put him there.
Yeah.
I've seen him.
I just feels unrealistic. Yeah.
Well, we thought Brian Harman was unrealistic, and look what happened. So these days, nothing's unrealistic. Here's one that probably is unrealistic. Tom Hoagie. It's just, look, if golf was just approach, Hoagie would be the greatest golfer on tour. He would win every single major. Everybody would be like, this guy's amazing, but he doesn't, because he doesn't do anything else that well. So he's 80-1 with good reason. He's my bet and regret. Strokes gained approach, he's fifth on tour. Tom Hoagie, number 5, strokes gained approach. Not John Rahm, who might be 4. But yeah, Iron God. Short course God. Driving accuracy, 71st. That's not great. Bogey avoidance, 40th. Birdies are better. I'm sorry. Let me say that again. Bogey avoidance, he's 80th. Birdies are better conversion, he's 40th, which isn't too bad. But that's because, because he's an iron player. So he has a good short game. But then he gets on the green and it sort of plummets. 92nd in putting. And he's just like the least consistent guy on tour. Cut at the Open, T19 at Genesis, cut at the Rocket Mortgage, T60 at Travelers, cut at the US Open. So like when real people are playing, he doesn't make the cut, but this is a weak field. So maybe Tom Hoagie sneaks in there. We'll see. I did leave him off my betting card. So if you go on Twitter, you can see my betting card. And basically I replaced him with Emiliano Grillo. So I really went kind of heavy with the odds this week. I just don't see a lot of long shots winning. Speaking of long shots, though, you want to say something about Hoagie?
No, I mean, I think that it could be a long shot tournament. So I sort of like at least a lot of these mid-range guys.
Yeah, I don't know. I've fallen in. The problem is these guys like Grillo and Straka. I mean, I've been talking about them all year, and they have been long shots for most of the year. And so now I'm like, well, these are my guys. I don't care if they're 22-1. I've been talking about Grillo since he won like a couple weeks ago or a couple months ago now. Same thing with Straka. So I don't know. Hard for me to, but yeah. I mean, a long shot could win. Speaking of long shots, we can go into our hybrid to close out the pod here. This is the long shot guy with some good odds. Who you got?
Garrick Higgo.
Oh yeah, nothing wrong with Garrick Higgo.
A lot of people like him too. I feel like. I mean, his odds have like gone in the toilet since I bet him. I bet him at 80-1 yesterday, and I was like, yeah, this is okay. Thought maybe I'd get a little bit more. He's already down to 60 pretty much everywhere. I mean, the whole world jumped on old Garrick Higgo. And he's basically like the same. He's really good off the tee. Yeah. He's gained strokes in 11 of his last 12 starts. He hasn't finished outside the top 35 in any of, he's got like a bunch of top 35s, top 25s. He just seems like the kind of guy that could win this, just in terms of just pure length. If you just like want guys that are just bang off the tee, like he's definitely amongst that crowd, of sort of like younger international players that can do that. And he's also, I mean, if motivation is a concern, he's 78th in FedEx Cup ranking, so he really needs this. But he played pretty well at the John Deere T21, T19 at the Scottish, didn't play the Open Championship. So he's put together a couple of pretty good results, and it just seems like, the iron game is at least getting close to being not terrible. So if he can just do that and keep driving it a long ways and putting pretty well, he should be okay.
Nothing wrong with Higo. I look at him all the time in some of those longer odds in an elevated event or something because he's so good off the tee. So nothing wrong with that bet at all. I'm not shocked that the man has gone from 80 to 60 to 1 in a week like this. That makes a lot of sense. My hybrid here, Nate, is Kevin Yu. I've been on him a little bit as of late. He's on a lot of people's cards as well. He's 80 to 1. He's now back from injury, so he's playing more frequently, which means we have some statistics on him. I think these numbers will get a little bit better, but his approach is he's 67th in strokes gained approach. Driving accuracy is 51st, was pretty accurate off the tee. Bogey avoidance 18th. I really like bogey avoidance this week. Almost all my guys who I bet have bogey avoidance numbers, in the top 20 or 30. Birdies are better 52nd, but here's the problem. Putting 184th. That's not even remotely close. Like, you can't win a tournament when you're doing that. Scotty Scheffler demonstrates that. So there's nothing to really point to the idea that you can win a tournament putting like that, but you just never know. He is playing better. T6 at John Deere, T49 at Travelers, but then he got cut at the Genesis and cut at Rocket. So it's hard to know exactly where he lands. I just kind of want to continue to keep an eye on him. And I like him on the card because he's pretty cheap, but I don't know. I mean, that putting is pretty bad.
Yeah, it's I mean, and it's just something that you can't overcome. Like, when you bet guys like that, you're just hoping like, well, maybe they just putt okay this week. It's like if you bet on Lucas Glover, you just hope like, all right, maybe this week he can just putt it okay because everything else is so consistent. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty damn tough to win when you're that cold on the greens.
Yeah, for real.
Speaking of that, I was looking at these approach numbers, and this sort of is a decent segue. It just felt too good not to share. So I was looking at strokes gained approach, right? And we've been talking about Scotty's ball striking dominance. He gains on average 1.3 strokes per round ball striking tee degree or just approach. That's more than double Tyrrell Hatton in 11th place.
Perfect.
For the entire season, he's scored 80 strokes total in approach, or 80, close to 81. Second place is 55. Like,
Who's
he's
second place?
Just Colin, who is widely regarded as like the greatest ball striker on the planet.
Right. Yeah.
And
That's
Scotty's
insane.
like 35% better than him.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's
so the putter makes a difference is where I was going with that, which is, all of those ball striking numbers mean nothing if you can't get the ball in the hole, and Scotty can't either. So it's tough.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. Well, we'll see. And Scotty, I don't know. I mean, geez, like that guy should be winning every single tournament, but he's not because he can't putt, and it continues to haunt him. He also didn't finish inside the top 10 for the first time almost all year this week. So I guess we'll see what happens with him. We'll end the show today, Nate, with where in the world was Wyndham Clark, my favorite golfer in the world, and he is he's not playing this week, nor should he. T33 at the Open. So he was kind of in contention the first 2 days, then had a pretty poor Saturday, and actually he had a bad Friday and another bad Sunday, but he shot 68 on Thursday. So he was around. I was like, oh, Wyndham, could he win another major? Could this be the guy? But he's just not, he's back to his old tricks, which is
not that guy yet.
Yeah. His old tricks are not playing as well with the iron and not winning majors, but we'll see. FedEx Cup playoffs, I think he'll be in the running, and he should be on the Ryder Cup team as well, I hope, which would be a lot of fun because he is playing amazing golf. So before we leave, I want to remind everyone in Virginia, go ahead and go to Colonial Downs got to check out Colonial Downs from Rosie's Gaming. You can go to Rosie's Rewards and put in the promo code Godzilla, get some free play that way as well. My father, the Godzilla of Truth, who you hear every Saturday, he's at Colonial Downs right now. I never hear from him anymore because he's at the track, locked into the racing forum, trying to win some money. He actually hasn't even been posting his MLB picks very often, which I know is because he's just getting his fix a different way. Entertainment purposes only, of course, but he's at the track there in Colonial Downs. He loves it. One of our sponsors, go to Rosie Gaming, rosiesrewards.com, and use the promo code Godzilla if you're in Virginia, and you can get that all squared away. All right, Nate, thanks so much for joining us once again for another edition of Clubhouse Picks. We're excited for the 3M Open, and we're going to see you next week for, Nate, the Wyndham Championship. That's right. I knew it off the top of my head.
Oh, there we go.
It is the last event on tour before the Tour Championship. As we wrap that up, be very exciting to see that. So, thanks so much for listening, everybody. Good luck this week. I'm Jack Fredericks. That's Nate Perry. Happy golfing.